Mario appeals to everyone. As a video game series, Nintendo's iconic mascot platformer can be played by anyone, whether kid, adult, or an adult who is still a kid at heart. Like me. In fact, its gameplay of timing jumps and gaining power-ups has remained enjoyable for many decades. And while sure, the series might be viewed as being games for children, the joy that those aforementioned games exude is meant for everyone. Hence why so many people, regardless of background, age, or tax filing status, can play and love these games, because the fun is universal, no relation. This is something that the somewhat recently released Mario film adaptation, the one dubbed the Super Mario Bros. Movie, overall lacks. While this Aaron Horvath and Michael Jelenic directed animated film was an absolute juggernaut at the box office and features many of the game's iconic characters, locales, and even a Rainbow Road action set piece, the Super Mario Bros. Movie is missing that aforementioned universal appeal, the type where both kids and adults can love it. Lost in the translation and the art of adaptation, the Super Mario Bros. Movie just cannot be enjoyed by all, mostly because it's a movie mainly aimed for children, and apparently YouTube grifters with a very basic understanding of media critique made the content last forever. Wow, that feels like a thread today. Which I won't deny, a movie squarely aimed solely at a younger audience has its appeal and is not necessarily a bad thing in and of itself. After all, it's okay for kids to enjoy something even though many adults might just not care about that aforementioned thing at all. Hell, even adults can enjoy something that is primarily capitalizing on the imagination of younger audience members. But with that said, this review essay is about my opinion of the movie, and from what I viewed, this film was just not for me, because regardless of who the target audience is, a film still needs to have a good story, character development, and strong themes. And in my mind, a film like the Super Mario Bros. Movie shouldn't get a free pass just because it's primarily banking on a younger audience. If anything, it still needs to feature an emotionally resonant narrative, which unfortunately, the Super Mario Bros. Movie sadly does not have. It's honestly a film that does not give many older audience members many reasons to care about its narrative. The Super Mario Bros. Movie's problems start with its basic story. The plot follows Brooklyn-based plumbers and Mario and Luigi, i.e. the titular Mario brothers, who are transported into a fantastical realm. From there, Luigi is captured by a villainous Bowser, also known as King of the Koopas, who overall has plans to conquer the world and marry Princess Peach, a woman who honestly wants nothing to do with Bowser because, of course, forced marriages are grody. And in order to rescue Luigi and stop Bowser's world domination ambitions, Mario and Princess Peach and others team up to save the world and Peach's chastity. And yeah, that's honestly kind of the movie. It's a pretty simple story, which on the one hand, that does accurately reflect the simplicity of the basic narrative structure of the Mario games. After all, the games are generally about Mario rescuing Princess Peach from the clutches of a world-conquering Bowser, a world-conquering villain who admittedly does occasionally have a strong fashion sense. These stories just aren't exactly known for their writing or transformative narratives. These games are not Red Dead Redemption or the Shadow of the Colossus, obviously. Instead, with the games, it's the gameplay that's truly king. Because truly, the act of playing the Mario games in and of themselves is why those aforementioned games have that earlier mentioned universal appeal. It's the act of player interaction that keeps gamers of all ages coming back for more. Yet that poses a problem for when the Mario property is adapted into a more voyeuristic medium lacking in audience participation, a medium like film where the only comparative form of viewer interaction is from the emotions that aforementioned film can evoke via a compelling narrative and strong thematic storytelling, something that the Super Mario Bros. Movie just sadly does not do. If anything, this film is a very basic cookie-cutter adaptation that follows many bad kids animated movie trends, ones where the stakes and fantastical elements aren't taken with much sincerity, classic rock songs are awkwardly spliced throughout the movie that really feel out of place in this fantasy world and story, name brand actors voice characters instead of voice actors, which is how we have Chris Pratt's totally iconic vocal performance as Mario, though on the other hand, we do get Jack Black's Bowser, which is admittedly a performance embodying some deliciously hammy turtle soup. So there's a trade-off with these things. The narrative arcs and the overall character development is very predictable from the movie movie's start, the Toads have been transformed into annoying yet marketable beings on par with the goddamn Minions, which admittedly is not too surprising, seeing as Illumination, the animation studio doing the Super Mario Bros. Movie, also did Minions and the Despicable Me movies. And then there's the awkward world building that is held together by shoestring logic. And look, I'm not saying that the Super Mario Bros. Movie needs to have world building on par with the Wheel of F***ing Time, but there still needs to be some logical consistency holding this world together, because it's all just one logical fallacy from all falling apart. And with that, these are all issues that are representative of a bad animated kids movie. Though admittedly, there are some good animated movies that have one or two of these issues, but are still good regardless. Hell, a lot of Pixar movies feature big name celebrity voice casts, and many of those movies are still pretty great. Yet with that being said, it is a problem when a film like the Super Mario Bros. Movie embodies so many of these issues that are representative of a lackluster animated movie experience. And all these items combined make the Super Mario Bros. Movie feel shoddily constructed. And look, once again, I know that the Mario games are not known for their narratives. They are beloved for their gameplay, which is what gives them their overall wide audience appeal. But seeing as a movie does not have gameplay, because of course, there should have been a creative priority to help the Super Mario Bros. Movie appeal to both kids, adults, and other audience members. And in film, that means crafting a good story with resident narrative and thematic storytelling. After all, there are plenty of examples of how animation can appeal to both children and adults. If anything, there are plenty of animated movies and TV shows that can straddle that line of appeal, but the Super Mario Bros. Movie just doesn't do this, opting for an overly simplistic story with minimal thematic weight. And as a result, I just really did not care about this movie. Even though some elements of the film play on my Mario nostalgia, the animation is pretty and colorful, seeing Princess Peach in full girl boss mode was cool, and Jack Black's performance as Bowser is pretty fun, the rest of the movie just did not cut it for me. The film did not have that necessary narrative and thematic meat to appeal to many adults, because by design, the Super Mario Bros. Movie is targeted primarily at kids, but just won't appeal to many older audience members, which is ultimately different from the games themselves. And with that was the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a like rating, share, subscribe, ring the bell, and leave a comment telling me what you thought of the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Also, please consider checking out my Patreon page. $1 a month gets you onto this credit sequence, and $5 a month allows you to make requests for movies that I can watch and talk about on the Riley and Friends podcast. The link to my Patreon is in the description. And speaking of Patreon, I just want to thank my patrons, particularly my high tier ones, and Samantha Devlin, Mom, and Morgan. Thank you so much for supporting what I do. Love y'all.